Israeli settlements are considered the greatest obstacle to the peace process. We decided to travel to the West Bank and interview 2 women settlers. And those are...
The
girl is sitting there. Tell me about yourself. Your name is Sara, right?
Right.
And
Sara.
you live in the so-called settlement, which is a community of Jews.
Right.
And you live in Judea, in a place called Efrat, I understand, right?
Right.
And this is, people call this place the West Bank in America or in Europe, right? This is known as the West Bank. And this is a place where also Arabs live, and that Arabs want for their future Palestinian state. Is that correct? Where did you live before you moved here?
We lived in Tzfat. I actually met my husband in Tzfat, and our first 2 children were born there. And when they were babies, we moved to Efrat 26 years ago now. And we've had 4 children who've been born there, born in Efrat since then. That's what's called the West Bank, but it's the West Bank of the Jordan River. I don't know why it's called the West Bank. We like to call it liberated territories.
Okay.
This is Jewish land that has been liberated in 1967. This is how we look at it. This is Jewish homeland.
We spoke also with Sarah Palmer from Takoa, small settlement in the Judean hills in the West Bank.
How old are you?
Now 30.
Oh, you look
But
so
when
young.
I came, I was 20.
Yeah.
How many children?
Now 3.
3 children.
You've lived here for 10 years.
Yes.
Do you consider yourself rich? Are you a very well-off person?
Rich? No. I think I'm rich in spiritual things and
But I mean like
non-material,
money.
not in material things. We do not own a car.
Oh, you don't have any cars?
No, we don't own a car.
Not even one?
We don't own a car.
Okay.
No, not even one.
Why don't you have a car? You cannot afford it? Or
Economically, it's very expensive, and we use the bus. It's very inconvenient, but we use the bus system, and we also hitchhike.
Or you are rich because you have your children here, right?
I'm rich because I decide to come here and I decide what to do with my life every day, every minute. I'm doing what I like to do. I have children.
8 years ago, we were able to buy a house
Buy a
in
house.
Efrat. It's very expensive. Every house in the liberated territories, every house that's built or for sale, first of all, it has to go through a lot of legal system to make sure that it's really on Jewish land and it's not taken from any Arabs. And
Yes?
Do you think you take advantage of anybody by living here?
Oh, no. No, why? I believe that everyone can live. I think that like the Bedouin, they take piece of land, they have goats and sheep and children. They just live, you know.
So you do the same basically, right?
Yes, yes.
If they can do it, you can do it.
And we can do it together.
What do you do for fun here? Like,
what we do for fun?
yeah.
In Efrat, we have a cultural center here. We have all kinds of evenings. We have plays. We have concerts. We have movies.
Sports and the sports
Oh,
stuff.
yeah,
How much vacation do you have from your work? How many weeks? We in the States have 2 weeks vacation, 3 weeks
I
vacation.
get 10 days. My husband works around the clock.
Okay, so,
he doesn't get much vacation.
so like a typical husband, I
Yes,
take it.
he's a workaholic. And there's a village near us. If I say the name, it might be dangerous for them, so I won't even say the name of
Okay.
it because
Dangerous, but in what
dangerous
way?
because if it gets publicized that there's any good relations between Arabs and Jews, then they can be killed by Hamas or the PLO. Or,
Wow.
Yeah. So
What's Mukhtar?
Mukhtar is like the chieftain
A chieftain of the Arab
of
village.
of the Arab village.
Do you hate Arabs? Or
No,
do you-
I don't hate nothing.
That Rabbi Rislin did. He tried to show his neighborly relations, and there is a good connection between him and the Mukhtars, the chieftains. As I said, they go to each other's weddings, and there's even been a few sports events between the two communities. They, for a long time, until the Intifada, they were coming to Efrat and they would get free dental care.
The Arabs
The
from
Arabs
the
and
village.
free medical care. Rabbi Riskin even he collected money to start a medical center in one of the communities near us for the Arabs, a medical center. But all that changed after the Oslo Accords because the PLO came in and they threatened everyone who would have any relations with the Jews here. They threatened them with death, and it became dangerous for them to have it. So all the medical equipment that was collected for this medical center was thrown out. They refused to let them use it. There's still Arabs who work in Efrat, but since the Intifada, there were two suicide bombings in Efrat.
What does that mean? That
Meaning
Arabs came with bombs?
they're one of the Arabs. There's an Arab who actually used to work in many of the people's homes here. He worked in construction, and everybody knew him by name. And he was a very familiar sight. In 2003, on the eve of Purim, and he saw this Arab who everybody knew him by name, that he was working in construction here, and he saw him going into the supermarket, and he was wearing this heavy coat and looked very bulky, and he decided to follow him into the supermarket, and he saw he followed him inside, and he saw that he was like reaching for inside his pocket, inside his jacket. And this man who has a family, this man from Efrat, he had like a split second to make a quick decision here. Either shoot him and possibly kill an innocent person and spend the rest of his life in jail, or save the community from a suicide bomber. And he knew the person. He knew the Arab by name. He took out his gun, and in a split second he killed him. Sure. And the man was strapped with enough explosives. This Arab man, he had enough explosives around him to like blow up the entire supermarket. Now, this wasn't a usual Friday. This was the Friday before the festival of Purim, where it was packed. Hundreds of people were in the supermarket and the whole commercial center. It was packed.
So lots of people would die.
Lots of people would have died. And there was one more case where another suicide bomber came. He was making his way, I think it was the same year, he was making his way towards the commercial center in Efrat. And he passed the medical center.
Another Arab.
And someone came out and asked him where you're going. And he exploded himself right in, and in that case he injured two people. One of them was my son's very good friend. He got injured in his head. The splinters went into his head, and he was in the hospital for a long time. And another one also, his whole body. So after those two cases, there was more restrictions put upon Arabs coming in freely to Efrat. We realized that even people who we thought were friends.
Do you feel secure living here?
No. I think that we need to kill all the people that wants to kill us before they kill us, like in Itamar. We need to be very, very careful. Yeah.
What was in Itamar?
They kill. Yeah, they
was a massacre of the Fogel family.
Why did they kill the family?
I think that when you have good childhood and good life and good mother and father, you can't do that. But
you don't want to end up like Fogel family, right?
We need to be very strong.
The Arab villages surrounding us, their quality of living had risen very, very much. They got jobs from the Jews. They were like living in like dirt poor homes with sheep and cattle inside the house, and I've been to them. I've seen it, and their quality of life had risen. The Oslo Accords bringing in all these terrorists from Tunisia and starting bringing the PLO in here has done nothing but made it much worse for the Arabs in the neighborhood.
So it hurt the Arabs also, not just the Jews.
It definitely hurt them. There's an Arab who comes here. He does work in the area, and we always have long conversations. And we always say, if both of us would rule the government, there would be peace, in a second. And he's a person, he just wants to make a livelihood for his family, doesn't want to take anyone's land. He has no aspirations to throw anyone off their homes. And he would hate to have a Palestinian state. He said it would be terrible to have a Palestinian state here. There would be no democracy, no rights, no. They would take all the money for themselves. They would.
So it would be like in the other Arab states,
right.
Because right now in Syria or
exactly.
Egypt, it's
the leaders live like sultans, and the person in the street, the regular person, is poverty stricken and has no rights whatsoever. And that's what it would be under a Palestinian government. They would hate to see us go. So the ones who do all the trouble are this band of terrorists who were welcomed into Israel. These Tunisian terrorists who were kicked out of Israel.
You mean Arafat's people or
Arafat's
PLO?
people.
Problem is that we are two tarbuyot.
Two different cultures.
Yes. Do you understand me?
Yes.
I want that they have good childhood and good and love and we can talk, because if the mother can kill her daughter when she's going with someone that she loves, so the son kill us. Do you understand me?
Yes. So you feel that you can live here,
And they can live here.
Arabs can live here.
Yes.
So you would say typical Arab on the street would like to work with the Jews, to live alongside the Jews, and not fight with them. It's just the leadership.
This was the case until the PLO has totally brought in an incredible brainwashing, lies and propaganda, and that has totally brainwashed this generation.
So-
I just want to give an example. I have a friend who lives at the edge of, at the very edge of Efrat. And she's very friendly with an Arab woman that she made friends with. Who she told me that this woman called her in the middle of the night. She said, "Oh, the people of Efrat are coming into their village and they're surrounding us and they're beheading people." And she said, "What are you talking about? I just walked out the door and it's dead silence. It's 1 a.m. Everybody's sleeping. I can see it on television. It's right here." She says, "I'm standing outside. I'm right near your village. I'm 3 minutes from your village. There's no one. There's no traffic. Everyone's quiet." And they show on their national Arab TV. They have people dressed up as settlers and as soldiers and killing people. The worst type of Nazi propaganda. And they were believing it. This was her friend who she had already been friends with for 3 years, where they just fabricate stories. They just make up, raping. Our soldiers don't rape Arab women. They don't. It's not. I know it happens in armies, but our soldiers, I can stake my life on it. Our soldiers do not rape Arab women. So they have their people dressed up as Israeli soldiers, raping women, murdering, killing, decapitating. And
Do they stage it? Do they dress their own people and in Jewish uniforms and Israeli?
Watch Arab TV. And this is what they're getting. They have in kindergartens. They have, the Jews are pigs, or they're thieves, or murderers. You'll see a Mickey Mouse, and you'll see all these children characters, from cartoons, and then you see these little children, cute little innocent children. They're saying the Jews they're pigs and they're monkeys and they're stealing our land and they're destroying their land and they're polluting the land. They get, and while in our kindergartens we sing songs of peace, songs of love, songs of our festivals, it would be a total. It's unlawful. It's against the law for any school in Israel to sing anything that has to do with hate or racism. It's not allowed. It's not allowed, anything like that. And where there's thousands and thousands of songs that have the word shalom in it, peace, because we're a peace-loving nation. We just want to have peace. Theirs is all jihad, kill the Jews, murder the Jews, and a whole generation. This is already the second generation that has been so terribly brainwashed, and people sort of ignore that part.
We can't talk now. We can't.
You cannot.
No.
Why not? Why not? Do you want to talk to them?
Yes, I'm going.
Yes.
Every holiday, every time I can, every Shabbos, we are going and talking, but we can't talk with someone that to kill, it's like to eat and to bake and to live.
So why?
I'm Jewish and the life are very
precious
for me.
Every life.
For me, yes.
Arabs?
Their groups.
If they have problem with the other groups, the Arab, yes.
The Arabs.
They kill one.
One.
They kill each other.
This picture above here shows 3 places that are part of Israel, and one is the cave of the Machpelah, where our forefathers are buried, and the other one is the Beit HaMikdash, which is our holy temple, and the third one is Joseph's tomb, which is in Nablus. These are the 3 places that the Arabs want. These are the 3 places that they want.
So those are holy places to Jews, not to the Arabs.
To Jews. They came like a mob They came to murder, mob Jews at their holy shrine. But according to Arabs, only Arabs have holy shrines. Jews are not allowed to have shrines. They're not allowed to access to it. They're not allowed to go to it.
What do you do for a living?
I'm sewing wedding dress.
Oh, you are sewing wedding dresses.
Yeah.
You sell those dresses in...
People are coming here.
Oh, people come here and you sell them.
Yes.
To buy them.
Okay, so you know that some people say that they should boycott your product because you are Jewish and from settlements.
כי יש חרם על ההתנחלויות.
באמת?
She didn't hear about it.
In America...
It takes long for the news to travel to Tekoa out here.
You know, I believe that everyone needs to love something and to hate something. So we find what to love and what to hate.
Tell me, did you hear also about European or American activists? There are organizations called ISM and Code Pink and some others.
Right.
Do they come here sometimes to your community or to the Arab communities, and you see any activities on their part?
Well, not so much in Efrat. They may come Efrat. They may come. I don't know if they've come to Efrat, but they definitely come to Hebron, and they go to other places where there's Jewish settlements, and they come to make trouble. These are real troublemakers. And
Do they do some, you would characterize it as incitement, or do they egg on the Arabs, or the Arabs asking them for help? The Arabs claim that, they are the PLO says we are defenseless, we need help from Europe, and they summon those people, or those people come on their own? Could you...
both ways. I mean, the Arabs cry that they're defenseless and the poor Arabs and look who's stolen our land. And these people come, they only know one narrative, and that's a narrative of lies and deceit. They only know that narrative.
You mean the Europeans?
The Europeans, they've never bothered to hear the Jewish, which is recorded in history, and you can see it's very easy to check it, but they have no desire to check what's really going on.
So they hate Jews, you think, those Europeans?
I'm positive they're anti-Semites, and there's even Jews among them, liberal, left-wing Jews, or self-hating Jews, who are always trying to fix the world, except to look in front of them at what's going on with their own people, and they're just as much as to blame. Anti-Semitism today is anti-Zionism. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with a different name. They love to say, "Oh no, we're not anti-Semites. We have nothing against Jews, and we're anti-Israel." It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing, because they set standards for Israel that no country in the world would have to go according to those standards.
They expect of Israel more than from others.
They expect more of them. They demand more of them. There's no country in the world who could live under such standards. It's truly out of hatred of Jews. They don't want to see Jews in the world. So finally, there's this. I have a neighbor here who's a Holocaust survivor. She was a hidden child at 5, and her whole family was murdered. And she started speaking lately for Yad Vashem, and she said she did that once when CNN came and they were filming in the area, and she said, "I don't really want to talk to you. I'm really angry because you distort everything." And then she said, "When I was a little girl in Europe, the anti-Semites used to say, 'You don't belong here. Go home, go home.' And now that I finally come home after leaving my whole family dead in Europe, and now I'm home in the land of Israel, because wherever Jews were, they'd always say, 'You don't belong here. Go home, go home.' And they called home the land of Israel. That was the home of the Jews. That was known as the home of the Jews. And now I'm home, and now you're telling me I have no place here either. This is not my home either. So where is my home? Is there a home any place on earth for Jews?" They distort. They tend to distort a lot. They always bias what they take the words, the Arab words, at face value without checking too deeply into it. You have to understand that a lot of these news outlets, in order to go into the Arab communities, the Arab territories, they can only do it. They more or less buy their way in, and they can't. And only if they use their narrative are they allowed in there. They give them even cameras. They give them cameras so they can stage their own. I mean, there have been so many cases during the Intifada where they staged people being killed, and then they followed up. The people who were lying down dead got up and just walked away. It was part of a stage. And
I would like to go back to where the Arabs came from. I mean, there are Arab villages here. 100 years ago, did those Arabs were here like indigenous population before the Jews that they lived here for hundreds of years,
No.
or they emigrated here, like
There were some Arabs here, but when we moved to Efrat 26 years ago, between here and Hebron, it was empty. You go on the road.
the land was empty.
You wouldn't see anything. And when the Jews started moving here, even as Efrat got built, all of a sudden, as soon as the first houses started going around, they started planting like crazy all around Efrat.
The Arab.
The Siak coast. And then they said, oh, we've been here for millions of years. And they make up all these stories. And there was nothing because there's aerial photographs from like the beginning of the 1920s or 30s that were showed that there was nothing. It was desolate here.
So this was empty land.
So it was empty land. There were Arabs here, just like there were Jews. There were Jews here until
But small pockets.
There were Jews here until small pockets. There were Jews here until 1929. There were Jews in Hebron until the Great Massacre there in 1929.
Who made the massacre? Who organized it?
The Arabs in Hebron. That some of them, their families still live in Hebron. They had a beautiful Jewish community there, thriving Jewish community, and they came and they raped the women. They tore their pregnant women. They tore their stomachs open and took out their babies. They decapitated people. They did the most savage murders. And then the British said, "Okay, we can't protect you. Leave."
So Jews had to leave.
So Jews left for 1929 till 1967. There were no Jews in Hebron. There were no Jews in Hebron because they were expelled.
But going back to your
So our
community here.
area, I just know that they're Arabs. This area they came from different Arab countries because
from other countries. Arabs came.
There were Arabs here all the time, but the
new ones, yeah.
New families came and they got married with each other.
So the villages around here, you would say, majority of the people immigrated from other countries, or and they intermarried with the locals
over the past 100 years. Over the years, they've immigrated here because it's been better for the Arabs here than any Arab country.
Why do they come here? Why do they want to be here instead of Syria or Iraq, wherever they can?
The conditions here are better. They can find work here
because there's more jobs
here. As Jews started coming to Israel in the 1920s, that's when there was a big immigration from other Arab countries.
European activists say that Arabs, Palestinians, they call them, local Palestinians lived here for 1,000 years or for hundreds of years. How would you comment on that?
They haven't. First of all, the Arabs who lived, first of all, they're not Palestinians. They're Arabs. They come from many different countries. So they're Arabs. There is no such thing as Palestinians. Palestine was a region. It was the name of a region. And the Jews who used to live here before 1948 were also called Palestinians. Anyone who lived in the region of Palestine was called a Palestinian. So to call us also occupiers, we're not occupying. Who are we occupying? There was a war in 1967 that they wanted to totally wipe out all the Jews, and we won. So this area that I'm living in was under Jordanian control, wasn't under a Palestine country control.
I read that Jews, the settlers that live here, they go out to Arab villages, to Arab orchards. They destroy the olive trees. They destroy the houses. They harass the Arabs on the roads. Is that true?
It's the opposite. It's not true. There are not, I don't know about Efrat, but I know in Samaria there's been problems like this where they would put their olive trees right next to the settlement, so that, and under cover of these trees, very often there would be an infiltration where a terrorist would be able to get in and kill. Olive trees here in Efrat, nobody picks them, only the Arabs. The Arabs are given permission by our municipality to come into Efrat and pick. We have many olive trees in Efrat. And now if I went into any Arab community to go and pick their olives, I'd be shot.
Attacking on the roads, Arabs.
No, it's the Arabs who attack the Jews on the road. Jews don't attack Arabs on the road.
So that doesn't happen?
No. What happens, I worked for 7 years with terror victims, and I know hundreds of people who were killed on the roads. And they don't...
by the Arabs?
By the Arabs. They were attacked and drive-by shooting. Whole families were killed. And then after they killed them, they come by and make sure that they verify that they're dead, and they'll kill even a baby point blank. This is Arabs, what they do to the Jews. Now, Jews don't do things like that to Arabs.
There are roads here, obviously, in this area. Can Jews travel on all the roads and Arab travel on all the roads?
No.
Or there's some separation?
There's area A, B, and C now. C is where you can drive freely. and B, only security, and A is only Arab control. Like if I wanted to go into Bethlehem, when we moved to Efrat, we used to go through Bethlehem to Jerusalem. That was our road. But since peace came to our country, we no longer were able to go through Bethlehem. I mean,
So there are roads that Jews are not allowed to travel on?
Jews are not allowed to travel on, but they can travel on our roads.
So
Our main
Arabs
road
can
here-
travel on?
Yeah, now that's a big problem, by the way, the roads, because it's really the Wild West out here. While the Jews have to go through very scrupulous tests to get a driver's license, and if they do any traffic violation, they're given stiff fines, and or their license is taken away. The Arabs, either they don't have driver's license, or I don't know what, but if they drive like maniacs, they don't abide by any of the rules on the roads. It is really, really dangerous. It's like another suicide bomber going on the road when you try to go on the roads. And we're using the same roads. And if they're involved in an accident with us, then, of course, there's no collecting of insurance.
What about taxis? I've been taking taxis, and I took a taxi from Jerusalem. I wanted to go to Bethlehem, and he said that he couldn't go with me, so that I would have to take an Arab taxi. Mm-hmm. Is there a difference? I noticed that there's some difference, that Arab could go to Bethlehem with me in a cab, whereas Jew couldn't.
Right. The only thing we can go into Bethlehem, and by the way, Bethlehem is a Hebrew word, Beit Lechem. It's the house of bread. That's where they used to grow wheat. And the story of Ruth happened in Beit Lechem. King David was born in Bethlehem. These are Jewish cities that are now under Arab control. It's occupied Jewish land by Arabs. This is Jewish land.
And you cannot go there?
I can only go now to Kever Rachel, which is Rachel's tomb. It's Rachel's tomb in order to go to a very holy Jewish shrine where for centuries and centuries people used to go and still go to Mother Rachel's tomb and to cry and to pray. To go there, you have to go in an armored bus. And the tomb itself, it looks like an armored fortress. That's what they had to put around to protect the worshippers to go there.
Do you feel very much involved in Israeli politics and what Netanyahu decides, Obama? You are not interested in
No,
that?
I'm doing what I want to do. And
You don't care?
No.
about it?
Can you, as a Jew, buy a house in an Arab neighborhood and just settle there, move with your husband and children and just live there like a good neighbor?
If I
Or
wanted
would
to
that be a
commit
problem?
Suicide, I could. No,
No?
they would never sell. The opposite. If an Arab sells land or a house to a Jew, he has a death notice. He has a death threat on him.
By whom? By the other Arabs?
Yes, there have been Arabs who have sold homes to Jews, and like in places in Jerusalem, like the city of David, and they had to escape for their lives. They had to leave the country.
Can a Jew sell his house to the Arab?
In a city inside, beyond
Jewish
Jewish
neighborhood,
borders, there's a lot of mixed.
So there's no problem if a Jew sells his house to an Arab
anywhere
person?
Sure.
Okay,
They have a lot
so
of mixed cities
okay.
here. And not only that, the ones who are living inside the borders, I don't call them borders. We really see them as liberated territories. I really feel I'm in Jewish
You seem to be
homeland
very
here.
passionate about it, I can tell.
This is Jewish homeland. The roots of King David and King Saul and the prophets. We're walking on this land. We are smack in between.
Historically, it's a very
we're between
Jewish
Mother
area.
Rachel and Father Jacob and Father Abraham and Father Isaac. We're right in the middle. This is where and Ephrat. It says in the Bible that Jacob buried Rachel on the way to Ephrat. I mean, it's mentioned here in the Bible. There's no Al-Faham or places like that mentioned in the Bible. These are all biblical Hebrew names, and they still exist, and we're living here. This is our land.
So Arabs came in later.
It's the Arabs who occupied the land. We are not the occupiers. They are the occupiers.
You know that Europeans and many other countries, including Obama even, proposed that Arabs take over West Bank, Samaria, Judea, along the 1967 lines, the former border with Jordan. What would happen to your neighborhood here if you came under Arab administration?
So, the Arabs talk and the Europeans talk about apartheid and racism. Well, if that happens, God forbid, the Arabs have stated that they don't want to have any Jews living here, where there's a quarter of the population inside Israel is Arab, and nobody thinks of ever expelling them. to have a Palestinian state, they don't want to have any Jews here. None of us would be allowed to live here. So even though I bought a house and my children were born here and they were raised here, we would have to give up our home and give up everything.
They will pay you for the house and have you, but the Arabs wouldn't give you money to move?
The Arabs won't give. They would come, the mobs that you see sometimes on TV, the crazy big giant demonstrations and with the rifle shooting in the air and with the masks on. That's what Efrat would look like. They would all come from every possible
So no
area.
chance that they would come with their checkbook, right, and buy it from you?
No, they would come with their mobs to rape and pillage and murder. Just what you see.
So people would just flee probably in terror ahead of
leave
that.
Everything behind them. Last, and we sing, "If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, may I forget my right arm." This has been sung for 2,000 years at every Jewish wedding, that we mourn the destruction of our holy temple in Jerusalem, where now there is this great big mosque where Jews aren't even allowed to go up there, and the few people that are allowed to go, they check them. The Arab police, they check them, make sure they're not wearing any Star of David.
But if we went now to 1967 borders, as Europeans want and America, all this historical Jerusalem would go under Arab control, Arab occupation.
And as
so
we've seen
including
throughout the generations,
Western Wall.
Right, including the Western Wall. And as we said, we have not been allowed to have freedom of religion when they did that. The Jews only get 10% of Hebron. 90% of the control of the area belongs to the Arabs. And they're building malls and hotels. We saw the whole development of the area, richness and affluent. The Jews live in this tiny caravans. They're not allowed to, they can have 5, 10 kids. They have no place to expand. They're not allowed to build even a room. They're not allowed to, they live in 10% in this tiny area. This is Jewish land. And in this area is the holiest of holiest places. And that's where King David ruled. That's where Ruth, it's where the festival Shavuot now.
Hebron was the capital of Israel before it was moved to Jerusalem by King David, right?
That's the starting point of the birth of the nation. That's where Abraham and Sarah are buried.
Does it look like Jews are now second-class citizens in Hebron, from what you say, that they are not allowed to build?
They're not allowed at all on the Arab side. And
can they walk around and shop in the Arab area?
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
The Holy Temple, where, of course, the Arabs...
Jerusalem,
In Jerusalem, and that's, of course, where the Arabs built their very big, fancy Al-Aqsa and their big mosque, right on the Holy of Holies of the Jews. Wherever the Jews build something, they want it for themselves. That's why there'll never be peace here. The Arabs will never compromise. They want everything. They don't tolerate freedom of religion. We saw two buses come in, and they were the ISM and some other European...
What's ISM? That's the European organization.
Right. We saw two of these European organizations, activists, and they're coming, to side with the Palestinians. And I went up to them. I said, "What are you doing here? Look! 90% belongs to the Palestinians. Do you have a brain in your head? Do you have eyes in your head? Can't you see that they have control of this area? And look at the Jews, 10%. And so they started mouthing these. But the poor Palestinians I said, who's controlling who here?
The police is Arab, right? The police the local
Arabs,
police.
Right.
You think that Arabs will change their point of view one day, and that they will live in peace with you?
This is the land. And we don't need to fight. We can live together, all of us.
So, last question: are you happy person living here with your husband and 6 kids?
After everything I said before, It doesn't sound, but yes, actually, I am very happy living here.
You have a little yard outside.
We have a wonderful community here. It's a community based on great. We call it in Hebrew chesed. It's great charity, brother to brother, where we have guests all the time, and we help each other, and we have beautiful synagogues here and beautiful schools and education, and we're very connected to the land, and we love where we're living, and we're proud of our land. We're proud to be here.